I had kind of a unique experience yesterday.
Yeah?
I went out to see the stage version of Xanadu.
Xanadu.
Had not seen the movie, so a couple hours before the play, we watched the movie. It was an all-day Xanadu binge.
I did much the same thing when Gus Van Sant's Psycho came out. I watched Hitchcock's Psycho, and then I went to see Van Sant's.
Similar experience, but with less roller skating.
Michael Beck from Megaforce said that The Warriors made his career, and Xanadu destroyed his career.
And with any movie where you go into it knowing that it's the worst movie of all time, you're going to watch it and say, wow, that wasn't so bad.
I don't know. I've seen parts of Xanadu, and it's pretty bad.
It depends on what you're expecting. Musicals, historically, don't have great acting, and they don't have great scripts.
Yeah.
So if you're going to judge it by that yardstick, of course it's going to be terrible.
We don't have time for me to talk about what you just said, but go on.
I'm saying typically. I'm not saying all musicals.
Yes. No one talks about the subtleties of Jolson's performance in The Jazz Singer.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. The problem with Xanadu is that it became instantly dated. It had a shelf life of probably about 2 weeks. You've not seen Xanadu.
Nor do I plan to.
You'd probably hate it.
I probably would.
You already hate it, having not even seen it.
Yeah, well, I've seen parts of it. The guy on the high wire in the middle of the roller disco. If you have a roller disco, why do you need a high wire act? That's the one thing you can't roller skate on. The guy who did the World Trade Center back in the 70s could not roller skate on a high wire.
I've got a bunch of movies that I've never seen before. You don't know what they are. Every episode, I'm going to spring one on you. It might be good. It might be bad. We'll watch it and talk about it. Welcome to the basement. Hello, basement dwellers. Thanks for joining us once again here on Welcome to the Basement, where we are celebrating cinematic auteur directors. And Craig has been drawing them from the Safari Pith Helmet, which is now empty, because this is our last auteur, and it is German director F.W. Murnau.
Murnau was a great silent film director, worked a lot in the expressionistic style. He's best known for this guy. Yes, Nosferatu, for over 90 years running, the scariest thing ever put on film. After that box office bomb, he moved to the United States of America, where he made a number of films until he got his driver's license in 1931.
This film is not only considered one of the best films of the silent era, but by some, one of the best films of all time. It is none other than Sunrise.
I was hoping you would pick Sunrise.
Released in 1927 and subtitled A Song of Two Humans, this is Murnau's first Hollywood film. He would only make 3 films after this one due to his sudden and untimely death in an automobile accident in 1931, getting his driver's license, as you quipped. Contrary to popular belief, this is not a silent picture. There is no talking in it, but Murnau utilized the innovative Fox Movietone sound-on-film system to add a musical score and sound effects. It won an Academy Award for Best Unique and Artistic Production, the only such award ever given out. The Academy was still finding itself back then. And it was given this award 2 years after it was released.
See, I've always thought that the Oscars should do this. Occasionally, someone's performance isn't appreciated until much later. Give them an Oscar for it. Then you don't have to worry about being like, oh, we'll give Scorsese an Oscar for The Departed because we didn't give him one for Raging Bull.
There is a baby in this film, and he was portrayed by little 8-month-old Jerry Craycroft. Jerry passed away on February 27th, 2000, at the ripe old age of 74.
Oh.
Here's to you, Craycroft. Well, I'm very excited to watch Sunrise. And who doesn't love a good sunrise?
Vampires.
If you're going to experience a sunrise, you'd better be prepared.
It's shaky. It's an assortment of sunglasses.
I wasn't sure which ones would suit you, so I got you a selection. It's kind of like Lou Reed sunglasses.
Yeah, Lou Reed.
Retirement home.
These, which are kind of like the...
Oh, those are like the cool ones.
All right, man.
That's like Gary Oldman in Coppola's Dracula.
And then we have these, which are...
Oh, yeah.
Kinda.
Those are the ones.
Yeah, hey.
All right, well, squint into the horizon with us as we sit down on the old leather couch and bask in the silent majesty of sunrise.
Look at how low that Latin date is. Those Roman numerals are so small.
It's summer, and vacationers flock to the country.
We just arrived here from East Egg. I hear there's a big party at the Gatsby Mansion.
Including a woman from the city who lingers a little too long after the season is over. She's having an affair with the man.
He's living a very boring life with a very average woman. She makes bread and soup for dinner. They got a baby and it's boring.
So she goes to his window and does her little whistling routine.
Ooh! Ooh!
He left his awful-looking dinner behind. Jerry!
Too much Croft by the Croft.
They should call him Jerry Cry-Oft.
Wait, I know this sound. He's about to be attacked by a shark.
He goes out to meet her in the swamp for an illicit rendezvous.
She isn't boring because she suggests things like murder.
In the middle of a furious makeout session, she tells him that he should drown his wife and make it look like an accident.
After he chokes her a bit, he's like, actually, I think I do have some murder in me. I'll get right on this.
He hides a load of bulrushes in the boat.
So he has something to hold on to when he drowns her and sinks the boat.
And he invites his unsuspecting wife on a little boat ride the next day.
She looks like a non-terrifying Betty Davis.
She's got non-terrifying Betty Davis eyes. The next day, they embark upon their death cruise.
The dog senses something and chases them well out into the water.
So this is like the opposite of Son of Sam. The dog's gonna tell him not to kill her.
Yep.
They gotta take him back to shore, and then they go back out.
The husband is obviously not feeling good about this entire venture.
Just a romantic afternoon of intense glowering.
It's gonna happen. Her husband's gonna kill her.
But he can't go through with it. And he rows them back to shore. The woman's like, this guy's trying to kill me. I'm out of here. Go get the dog. He seems to like you. She runs off. She hops on a trolley car.
He catches up with the trolley.
And they ride the trolley into the city.
She's crying. He's crying. No one's in a good mood because of the whole attempted murder thing. I just found out that if this trolley goes slower than 5 miles an hour, it will explode.
He changed his mind. He's not going to kill her after all.
The trolley arrives in the big city. The man takes his wife out to eat.
Our specials today are romantic reconciliation and meatloaf.
She can't eat anything. He can't eat anything. They feel horrible.
Sir, you need to pay your check. We don't accept bulrushes as payment. Little by little, he starts to put her at ease.
There's a wedding going on in a church nearby.
Don't do it!
He'll just try to kill you in a boat.
They're married, they're farmers, and they're also wedding crashers. And they remember what it means to be husband and wife.
Finally, his wife forgives him.
They fall back in love with each other. I want my opera house!
They walk out into the street as though they're walking into a field. This starts a whole traffic jam. They're in love. It doesn't matter.
Then they go to a barber shop. The man's a little scraggly.
While there, a manicurist offers to hold his hand.
Which is a tense moment, and it doesn't happen. Say there, sweetheart. You look like a swell dame.
Says here, Calvin Coolidge had the funniest little bon mot at the state dinner.
This lech is hitting on the wife. The husband's like, hey, back off. That's my wife. Give me back my flower. All right, on your way.
Goodbye, Rubes. They go to a photographer to get their picture taken. There's some clowning around in front of the camera. These two are like newlyweds again. Next stop, the circus. The man plays a very strange circus game.
Throw a ball and a pig falls.
It's the precursor to modern-day skee-ball. That game is called Suey-ball. One of the pigs escapes. This guy's from the country. Who better to catch an escaped pig? Wasn't this the inspiration for the plot of Babe, Pig in the City? Meanwhile, in a kitchen somewhere,
Chekhov's towel.
there's a chef who's alone with a bottle of wine, and he decides to tie one on. But he doesn't realize that that pig has snuck under his apron. Crawling around with the apron, he looks like a little ghost. The guy freaks out a little bit and he runs off. There's a bunch of spilled wine there. What else is a pig gonna do?
Pig gets a little bit drunk on wine. He catches the pig.
That'll do, pig. Everybody loves these bumpkins.
Play that new song about the jolly good fellow that you learned recently.
And they do an old folk dance, and everyone in town loves them.
When the wife suggests, let's go for a midnight cruise. They're out on the boat.
But then a storm comes. It looks like the ship's gonna go down. Don't worry about me. I have a plan to save you because I brought these bulrushes. Don't ask me why. It's complicated.
And so he lashes the bulrushes to his wife. Their boat gets capsized. The man wakes up on some rocks. He's fine. What's that? She's floating on. It's the pig! He goes looking for his wife. He can't find her anywhere. This is just like the end of Titanic. He finds the bulrushes floating on the sea, but no wife. Oh, he returns home and he's very sad. His plan happened anyway, and he didn't even want it to happen.
The baby's crying. Everything's bad. Oh, but the woman from the city, she's like, hey, the plan went off perfectly. I'm going to stop by my boyfriend's house.
He hears this and he flies into a rage. He grabs her by the neck and starts choking her like a turkey, when suddenly he hears the weird old woman who takes care of his child calling him. What is it, Sheila? Your wife is alive after all. They found her. And he's reunited with his true love.
Oh, and then the sun comes up, as promised by the title.
That was Sunrise, Craig.
Yes, it was.
What did you think?
Oh, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, me too.
I'm taking these off now.
Yeah, good idea. Well, it's only taken us 87 years, but we finally watched this movie, and I, for one, was delighted.
I've never seen a movie change gears so quickly.
It was 3 movies in one. Mm-hmm. It was a suspense thriller, then it turned into a romantic comedy, and then it became a romantic tragedy.
Yes, the movie starts out, and the tension comes from, is he going to kill his wife? And later the tension comes from, will he catch the drunken pig?
The third act of the movie is an even more abrupt shift from the previous 2 shifts.
The only thing I have to compare to this movie to is Shakespeare's A Winter's Tale. Do you know this one?
Refresh my memory.
It starts out crazy tragic. It is just the worst thing. People dying left and right. A king gone mad. A man is chased by a bear. Second act, everything changes. It's suddenly this pastoral comedy. We're a bunch of shepherds and we're not that smart, and here's a bunch of jokes and here's a little dance. And then the play twists around back to the original storyline, and the 2 things come together, and it's really emotionally hard-hitting in the end. It's the only thing I've seen like it.
This is called A Song of Two Humans. Not a song of 2 lovers, song of husband and wife, song of man and woman, song of 2 humans.
Yeah.
So obviously this has poetical aspirations to be this universal message.
Yeah, it says so right in the opening title card.
What do you think that message ultimately is?
I think it all comes down to redemption. That we all are tempted to do horrible things. And even if we don't commit the sin, we have to get forgiveness in some way so that we can grow as a human being. They go to the city. Oh, it's a great place to visit. They have pigs there too.
The city's just like this great big party.
And there is a little bit of country bumpkin
Bumpkinism.
Oh, okay, bumpkinism. Where they go to the photographer and they think they broke the statue. And that's a great comic bit.
I thought they broke the statue, so I guess I am guilty of bumpkinism.
Yes.
I was thinking about chasing a pig.
Luckily that happened later on in the movie.
Yeah, but I was thinking about it before that scene. Is that weird?
That is weird.
Okay.
Yeah.
That drunken pig is pretty great. I can watch that scene 100 times. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb. Best drunken pig scene in the history of cinema. 1927, they haven't improved on it since.
There are things that have changed since 1927, though.
Right.
So often in movies, you see something that was revolutionary now seems hokey. But sometimes you see something that's revolutionary, if done now, is hokey, but it remains dramatically powerful at the time. There's a scene where there's the double exposure of him thinking about his lover, and she's coming in from all angles. Yeah, and that's really powerful to watch in the context of this movie.
I think that's something that anyone who's into movies, there's a certain level of maturity that you have to reach where you can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Where you can look at something from a different time period and you can look at it in that historical context rather than appreciate it on your own modern terms. And I think that's really a key to enjoying very old cinema. And I think that's a level that everyone eventually needs to get to.
Very little to read in this movie.
That is because Murnau disliked title cards, and he used them as little as possible.
You realize how sound isn't that important to movies if you know how to film it. They are communicating just by looking or not looking at each other is more powerful than any dialogue that could have been written for that scene.
Well, cinema is truly a visual medium first. At the same time, I really did appreciate the fact that this movie had a soundtrack. Mm-hmm. So often when you Speaking of soundtracks, we've got an unpredictable one here in the basement, folks. So often when you see a silent film, it had no soundtrack because there was a live guy playing a piano or an organ. And so when you watch these DVDs, they put this music on top of it. It sounds too modern. It doesn't sound right. Even when they do it well, it's still not what they heard back then.
Yeah.
This was the music that the people seeing this in 1927 heard, and we're hearing the same stuff today. That's really exciting to me. This movie was a flop. It was very critically acclaimed, but people weren't going out to see it at the box office because it was released 1 month after
The Jazz Singer.
That's right. And all they wanted to see were movies with talking in them.
Technology will spoil people so fast. If you were a caveman and you had 1 week in a hotel and then you had to go back to being a caveman, that would ruin your life.
And, you know, we make fun of the man for his Nosferatu-like gait.
This guy would be a lot more attractive if he didn't have the posture of Mr. Burns.
But there's never any point when you don't believe him.
All of his postures mean something.
Right.
So it's almost like kabuki.
Sure.
If I knew anything about kabuki.
Or it's like stage acting. Mm-hmm. And basically, before sound, you still had to be a stage actor in front of the camera.
Yes.
Because you still had to cross a gulf of silence. Whereas in the theater you have to cross a gulf of space. Mm-hmm. And so those techniques were still used and they still worked. Final thoughts on Sunrise.
It was sometimes bitter, sometimes sweet.
And sometimes drunken and swine-like.
That's right.
I loved that drunk pig. It was romantic, it was tragic, it was comedic. It's several movies in one. You should check it out.
It's a bargain.
Especially if you haven't seen a lot of silent movies, because it is one of the best, and it will broaden your horizons into that medium. You know where else you can go to broaden your horizons? Our website, welcometothebasementshow.com. It's like a circus of things that you can experience. You can read articles, you can watch episodes, you can do all kinds of things. There's a PayPal donation button where you can donate a few of your hard-earned simoleons to support this show. Simoleons?
Simoleons?
That's a word from the 20s.
Yes, it is. This movie's gotten in your head.
Pony up those simoleons, sweetheart. Anyway, you can make a contribution to support this show. People have done it.
Like who?
Joe, who writes, watching your videos or connecting my phone to YouTube and listening to the audio in the car keeps me smiling on good days and keeps me going on bad ones. Happy to help, Joe.
I'm glad he found a new way to watch our show with his ears.
Vincent, Linda, Philip, Ronald, James, Sarah, who writes, you guys are incredible and super entertaining. And Rebecca, who writes, take my money.
A little pecuniary advancement on our part.
We appreciate all the donations that we get, and we appreciate you just watching the show. That is reward enough. We've got some more fan art, and this time it's in person.
It is?
Candace and Jerry, they sent us a special little gift here.
An analog gift.
You might recognize this quote from Tough Guys Don't Dance. It's been rendered on a stitching piece of artwork.
Cross stitch, I believe that's what it's called.
I think so, yeah. It's got the one potato a man eats quote.
And then framing around it, it says, oh God, oh man, oh God, oh man.
Took me a while to see that one. I love this. I'm going to hang it up somewhere here in the basement. And they also sent a postcard, which you can add to your collection.
Oh!
Candace and Jerry, sitting in a tree. I assume they are a couple. And now, Craig, it's time for me to take you out in a rowboat and push you into the deep, dark waters that are Seen It.
Seen It.
Seen It is a part of the show where we read your comments and suggestions, movies that you think we should watch on our show. But we can't watch a movie on this show if I've seen it. And these movies are movies that I've seen. I wish I could come up with a concise explanation of Seen It. More concise than that.
But you can't.
No. That's a failing of mine.
Yep. Matt Carlson asks, have you guys seen 12 Monkeys? Seen it.
A reimagining of the French short film La Jetée.
Yeah, which everyone should see, whether you like 12 Monkeys or not. It's unlike anything you've ever seen before. It's how adaptations should be done, where you take something and alter it so much. And some people were like, oh, Terry Gilliam totally ruined La Jetée. And it's like, what are you going to do with La Jetée? It's a movie of still photographs and a narrator. It's like someone saying, Sunday in the Park with George, I don't like the fact that it wasn't a painting.
Dan Naw Rocky writes, Matt once mentioned that he was a fan of Charlie Kaufman, so that made me wonder if you've seen Adaptation. Seen it?
Seen it.
This movie got me. And I think you know what I'm talking about. There's a point in the movie where there is a dramatic tonal shift. And the movie sort of becomes a different kind of movie. And it got me. Because I was watching it and thinking, what the hell are they doing? What's happening? oh wait, this is intentional. Now I get it.
Nina Mulick. Sorry, Nina, if I got that wrong. I recently watched The Trip with Steve Coogan and Rob Brydon. Have either of you seen it? Seen it.
Seen it. I'm caught in a box. Seen it.
I really like Steve Coogan. I like the fact that he's not afraid to sort of lampoon his own career.
That's half of his career, is him lampooning his own career.
Right. I find it really charming.
The movie is a drama that just happens to star
Two comedians
who are portraying themselves as comedians.
Right. And on paper, this movie sounds dead boring. But just the personalities of these guys really brighten it up.
Yeah.
Rebel CC, I think that you guys should see Scott Pilgrim versus the World. 1, 2, 3, 4, seen it! I heard this was a bad movie, and I avoided it for years. I was visiting family for the holiday. My nephew had a bunch of DVDs. They all were not anything I was interested in watching. It was Scott Pilgrim, and I was like, okay, well, let's do it. And it's great. I loved it.
Love that movie. This movie is a video game.
But you don't have to like video games to like the movie.
No.
The movie transcended the little things that were cute about it, like the words that would appear on the screen.
Yeah.
The way it was set up like a comic book. You know, it still was vibrant enough to draw you in past all that.
I like it because it's set in Canada, and it keeps addressing the fact that it's set in Canada and what that means to be 50 miles away from the United States at all time.
That's Seen It.
And that's our show.
Oh, what a good time we had tonight watching Sunrise.
When I feel the romance going, I'm going to take my lady out for a very important boat trip, nearly kill her, and then redeem myself and have a great time in the city.
That's all it takes.
Yeah.
Almost kill the lady.
Yep. No.
Go to welcometothebasementshow.com, check it out, make a contribution in the PayPal deal. And our next episode is our 50th episode, and as you may know if you've been following along, one of you, the viewers, is going to get to pick the movie. You have to decide which movie you think would be good on our show. Leave it in the comments, along with the reason why. I will be looking at all the comments, and I will pick one of these movies, and we will watch it for our 50th episode.
It'll be a blast.
From the past, man. Because the movie has already been made.
What if someone sends us a movie from the future? Wow. I hope it's a new Star Wars movie.
Good night, folks.
Swamp date. I'm going to get dressed up really nice because we're going to go and roll in the mud. Like pigs.
Swamp Date. It sounds like a song by Southern Culture on the Skids. Going on a swamp date.
Swamp date.
Woo! I like going on a swamp date.
Swamp date.
Woo! Please tell me you were rolling on that.